Kia ora. Thanks for that. Thanks for listening to me when the mic wasn't on. You were really good there. My dads, can you come on up onto the stage with me? Have a seat, come on up. Woo. That's for you. You go on the far side there. Oh, you're looking for your bottle. 1, 2, 3. So I have the immense privilege of standing before you today. Kia ora koutou. My name is Emma Nicol, and I get to try and draw out all those little, large amount of wisdom from these awesome dads that we have sitting in front of us today. I just want to take 2 seconds before I start, though, to acknowledge Morris and the people like Morris in here who don't have their dads with them at this time. And I think about you on days like this. I'm not looking forward to the day that I don't have my dad to go to as an adult when I still need help. And so I just want to really acknowledge that today, as awesome as it is to acknowledge the dads that are hanging out and hanging around, I just feel for those who must love the moment when they get reunited with their dads. So that's real exciting. Cool. So first things first, grab yourself a brew. Love the setup this morning. I'm just going to get you to take 2 seconds, make sure your mic's on, and get you to introduce yourself so I don't have to do all the work. Go for it. Stay in the far end.
Okay. Hey, hi everyone. I'm Dorian. And I'm married to Catherine, who's not in here this morning. She's out doing kids' church. We got 3 kids. Jamie, he's our boy, and he's in the building somewhere here, and his wonderful wife, Emma.
Woo! Oh, it's nice to have the lights on. Nice to have the lights on so you guys' faces.
Also have twin girls, who are both not here. They're overseas. They're both in Canada at the moment, in Vancouver. Janelle, who is married to Aaron, and Jade, who is married to Matt. He stole her away to Canada, and they went and had a grandson for us over there. Little Theo, he's wonderful. What
Thanks.
Else do you want to know?
That's good. Just introduce yourself. But
Sweet.
You went like full whakapapa, so I love it.
Awesome.
Oh, hey. Kia ora,
I can't hear what you're saying.
That's all. He can't hear what he's saying. That would
Can
be
you
a big
turn these monitors
sound
on,
issue.
Bruce?
Okay. Cool.
Stage.
Go for it.
Just unmute the stage mics. Thanks, mate.
Hi guys, my name's Will. I'm married to beautiful Tiff over there. It was her birthday yesterday, so happy birthday. I got 5 kids. They range from the age
Sorry, how many?
5.
5.
Yeah,
Good.
that's a good. More
It's
the merrier.
experience there.
And they range from the age of 8 to 16. Yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Will.
Roger Phillip. I'm one of the AGs that's been here for a long, long time. I've got my wife, you should know by now, Joanne. She's been with me for nearly 25 years. Got 2 boys. Zan, you've seen he's come up here and preached before, and Alex. Alex is our Hawke's Bay B rugby player. So that's us.
You know, it was Zan's preaching that was one of the reasons that I wanted you up on the stage, because I want to hear how men create great men in their families. So looking forward to those tidbits.
Oh, what's up, everybody? My name's Herb. I am the father of 3 children. Pearl, get up and do that dance we talked about. She's easy to embarrass. Charlie, she embarrasses me. And Tyson, he's at a league trial. So, what's up, Toys? Yeah, that's me.
Cool. And just to the end. That's you.
That's you, big guns.
Yeah, my name's Kent and Thompson, and I'm married to Pania down there. They're very beautiful, Pania. And we've got 5 kids. And actually, they're all here today, which is quite amazing because our oldest one, Ariana, lives in Australia. And yeah, so that's awesome. Thanks for having me on the panel. I was the backup person in case one of these fellas weren't here. And I said, no, they ain't going to back out. Like, these are real men. But I just wanted a ginger beer as well, so I just jumped up.
Okay, so 5, 10, 13, 15, 18 children between them, so I feel like we've got some experience on the table. So let's kick straight into it. These questions, please don't think about them. I just want a one-word answer. This is just to get you loosened up. We're going to go like quick fire from your end, Kent, towards me. So you're coming towards me with real fast. Would you rather stay up late or sleep in? Go.
Stay up late.
Yeah, probably. Either.
Stay up late.
Sleeping.
Late.
Ooh, okay. So we're just learning a little bit about them. Would you rather learn how to fly a plane or how to sail a boat?
Sail a boat.
Oh, fly, easy.
Yeah, plane.
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 Okay, plane. For dinner, would you rather have, tricky one, pizza or a barbecue?
Barbecue.
Oh, yeah, barbecue.
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 Okay, getting slightly trickier. Would you rather wear a mankini all day or do a 10-second nutty run?
10-second nutty run.
Toto.
Let's go. Let's go.
You're not the mankini for sure.
It'll be a fast run anyway for me.
10-second run.
Yeah, man, I'll do the nutty run all day.
It depends on the temperature too.
Let's just have a quick
Not a
survey
problem.
of the audience today. Would you rather a 10-second nutty run or have to wear a mankini all day? Hands up for a nutty run. So many streakers in the audience. Who would have known? Okay. Would you rather be physically stronger than most people or be able to fly?
Oh, definitely fly.
Yeah, likewise, fly.
Yeah, fly.
Flying top string.
Flying.
Well, I already said that I'll fly a plane, so I'll be stronger than everyone.
Okay. It's all good. Okay. Getting to the technical now. If you were a pirate, would you rather have a peg leg or a hook hand?
Hook hand. I think.
Quick fire. That's
Yeah. Hook. Yeah, give me a hook. Yeah.
I'd have a pig leg because you can still ride.
yeah,
Yeah, pig leg for me.
peg leg.
Yeah, boy.
Shot.
Yeah, I'd have a hook hand.
Hook hand. Okay, last one. Would you rather have to make a 1-minute speech in front of 10,000 people or kiss a frog?
Oh, I'd take the speech, hands down.
Yeah, reluctantly the speech.
Yeah, I'm frog.
No, I'll do the speech.
Yeah, speech.
What an opportunity.
What an opportunity. So you might be sitting there thinking, what does this panel have to offer me? You've just heard their answer. They'd rather do a 10-second nutty run. But I promise the following questions are going to have some really good nuggets in it for everybody in the room. So I'm looking forward to it. I just want another shout out. I think about our church and I think about the men who are in it. And we've got these guys up here who have these 18 kids between them, but I know there are lots of dads who dad in here. I think about the people who lead cell groups, who run sound, and the people who serve on worship. And while they might not have kids on their own, they've taken that opportunity to pull people alongside them and really walk with them in their discipleship, because that's what Jesus calls us to do, disciple one another, who have walked alongside people for years. So I just want to really acknowledge the fact that you don't need to be a dad to dad. You can pick up some lost kids in this room and really walk with them. And I can think of some in particular, so I just want to really thank you this morning before we get into our big questions. Is that cool? All right, getting a little bit more serious. We'll go this way now.
Oh, I'm asking questions.
Yeah, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, cool.
Go for it.
So, you ready? Got your dad jokes ready? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so first question's up. Nice and easy. What's your favourite way to make your kids laugh?
I usually, it's my ironic jokes for the kids. I play off the kids and just, yeah.
Care to share?
Nah.
Oh. What about you, Will?
I like telling them stories about when I was young and mischief. Obviously, you're waiting for a story.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll share a story about so when I was young, I was pretty mischief. And we're at the public library. If you guys know the Napier Public Library, and you walk out of there and there's that ramp that goes up the council building. Yeah, so the old mate grabbed this bike out of the bike stands and we're taking it up to the top and ghost riding it down. Like all the time, just laughing, cracking up. And there was this big bollard there, and we're trying to smash it into this bollard. And then this guy walks out, and he comes out, and he's cracking up, going, whoa, we're laughing, he's laughing. And he walks over to get his bike, and he looks at us, he goes, hey, that's my bike. and then we scarf off to the beach. And he chases us, but we got away.
Thanks.
Nice.
Nice confessions.
Yeah.
You go. Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
What's your favourite way to make your kids laugh?
I mean, I don't try to make the kids laugh. They just laugh at me because it's mainly the girls actually. But I just can't point my toes, and I don't know what it is. They still try to point your toe, and I just point my toe, and they just crack up because my toes are sort of hooky, and they just think that that's funny. I don't know why, but that's the only way that I could think of that makes the kids laugh. I don't know.
What about you, Pastor Kent?
Dancing is like dad dancing. Like, I don't know. There's got to be music.
Do we have some music?
Sometimes I just like to let it rip. And,
Bruce?
I don't know what's going to happen, but they just think it's funny. So
Oh, here we go.
there's
Here
no
we go.
like.
that's not the right song,
I got
is
to be
it?
in the mood for it. It's.
What's funny about Herb calling to make you dance is the next question is, what do you do to make your kids cringe? And Herb, what do you do to make your kids cringe?
I exist. Do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, well, I was going to say what they think, but yeah.
Well, there's lots of things that I do to make my kids cringe. One of the latest things I do is I scratch my beer bum, and then I don't know if then I go to Charlie because she's the one that tests my patient, and I run up to her and I go, shh, you're safe now. So that's my latest thing that I do.
Yep.
That's what I do to make my kids cringe. I do it to Pearl and Tyson too. So.
I thought he would go with dance, but apparently he shared a little bit more than I expected.
What do you expect when I'm up here? I'm an open book, ladies and gentlemen.
Roger, what do you do that makes your kids cringe?
Yeah, they're pretty good though, eh? They don't really show it to me that they're getting cringed out. If they do, they keep it pretty quiet. So it might be a private thing between them, but they don't express it to me. So I think I'm okay.
Maybe you're way too cool.
Yeah, that's all. Hopefully.
What about you, Will? Is there anything you do that makes your kids
there's
go,
a couple
"Oh,
of things.
Dad"?
Couple of things there. When I cut my own hair,
Yeah.
I've probably been to the barbers like twice in my life. So I honestly think I do a good job, but they don't think so. Yeah, and just showing my older kids affection in public. Yeah, they hate that. Yeah.
They don't like that?
Yeah, keep it up, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see an example. Yeah. Which writer? Nah.
Oh yeah, he's cringing right now. Look, he's ducking, he's hiding. So good. So good.
Hey, I'm a bit like Roger. I don't know that'll make the kids cringe. They think I'm awesome. The only thing that I really can think of is maybe toilet selfies, but they don't, that happens. But that's a rare thing, I don't show them anything. It's just my face.
Ken, have you got anything that makes your kids really cringe?
Just dancing again.
Just still dancing? Really feel like we need to get the right song on. Yeah, you go find the right song, whip it down to Bruce at the back there, and we'll get a demo in a minute. That'll be great. Love being live, love being flexible.
Just disclaimer, I'm not a dancer, so that's why it's
it's
cringy.
good. Well, I'm sure we can get some people to help up and support. Okay, getting a little bit closer to home now. When your wife was in labour, any one of the stories, any one of the 18 times, what did you do?
Let's start with you, Kent.
Everything.
That's what you did?
That's my,
Yeah, that's your answer. It's all good.
Not dance, obviously.
What did you get up to? Were you in the room, out of the room?
I was in the room.
Yep.
We've got the 3 kids. We only had one labour because the girls were caesarean. But when Jamie was born, I was in hospital at the same time with Catherine. I wasn't in hospital with Catherine, but I had a lung collapse. So I was on one side of the room.
That's deflating, bro.
Yeah, it was deflating. So
Wow.
It's a dad
it's
joke.
a dad joke.
Dad joke 101.
So I was on one side of the room groaning because my lung was collapsed while Catherine was in labour on the other side of the room groaning because she's in labour. So, but I was there, full support.
Was it like a pain competition? Like, no, I'm groaning more. And she's like, no, I'm groaning more. I'm having a baby. Like, I got a collapsed lung.
Pretty much.
Well,
She
what
won.
were you up to when Tiff took it on 5 times?
Yeah, I can remember drinking heaps of coffees, sucking on the gas. There's a gas there. No, I was pretty...
Just one for you, one for me, one for you.
I can remember like you can't remember.
yeah. No, I was pretty good. I was pretty supportive, patting on the back, and I was just thankful it wasn't me.
Were you surprised?
Surprised?
Yeah, like I felt like perhaps Herb was surprised at how much it hurt me.
Yep. No, yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Rog? What were you up to?
Mine's an interesting story.
Good.
It was an inconvenience that Joan was having our second child at the time. So it was, sorry, Alex. You've got to hear the story, right?
Let's keep on going.
Yeah, we're at Palmerston North Hospital, and it was a midweek situation, and I had some pressure on me from work, so I came to the hospital with some some legal work, and then when I got there, and she was going, I'm contracting and all that, and I said, no, you're hypochondriac. It's okay. It'll take. You can't be this early. And I said, I'll just shoot out. I need to get something to eat, and so I went and got McDonald's. And I came back with McDonald's, and I was sitting in there with her while she was going through this process. And I was trying to do some work. And then the doctor comes in and goes, no, I think she's due. I think it's going to happen. I went, oh, really? And then, and so then I sort of put all that stuff away onto one side and took my focus on her. But the strangest thing, let me just take the next step that happened. What happened is the strangest thing is that this is Alex, because Zan had already come through and he was okay. So Alex came out, and he came out head first, and he came out and he opened his eyes and he turned to me, half out, and he looked over at me across the room and went, bah! Oh, and I was like, hang on, and he looked just like my father. That was my experience.
What were you up to, Herb, while your wife was in labour?
All right. So when we had our first child, Pearl, her head got stuck. All right. So I'm not going to explain it, but her head got stuck. And I was thinking, so I'm in the room, right? Emma's trying to push, trying to dilate or whatever it's called. Pearl's head gets stuck. And I'm just like, how could the head get stuck? There's like heaps of room. How do you think Pearl got there in the first place? I'm here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
G-rated. It's G-rated, bro. Man, people leave the church because of that.
Hey, Pearl's out.
What I remember was, for those, anybody love listening to Rapture Ruckus? We were literally the night before Pearl was born at a Rapture Ruckus concert, first baby. Thought, why not? Baby's overdue, let's go to a concert. So we went to a concert. Not feeling so great towards the end of the concert. Tell Herb, I'll head outside. Go outside, waiting outside. Concert finishes. Kent happens to come out. Herb's coming out. They're standing there. And I'm standing next to them. And my waters break. But I'm 9 months pregnant, so I'm not really sure if my waters are broken or if I've just wet myself, because you don't know. Yeah. So I say that to Herb. I was like, I need to go check myself in the bathroom, because either my waters are broken or, wet myself, which I don't really want to tell Pastor Kent, who was standing there. Sure enough, my waters had broken. Fly full 24 hours later, Pearl is not on her way out. C-section in the end, head stuck. Longer story than that. But the hours later, 2 in the morning, so we're going, a good 28, 29 hours of being awake now. After being awake all day with the Rapture Ruckus concert and those kinds of things, Pearl starts to cry in the crib next to me. Herb's on the mattress on the floor there. And I had had a C-section. I was numb from here down. They'd given me lots. I couldn't move. I couldn't grab her out of the crib. And Herb's asleep next door. So I'm like, Herb, whole maternity ward is asleep. And I'm like, Herb. Like, he's literally just there, but I can't grab him. So the button had fallen off my bed. Pearl's screaming. I'm throwing every single thing on my side, counter to get him awake. Pillows hitting his head, cups hitting him. Does he wake up? No way. So eventually just grab Pearl, put her on me, sort her out. But in the morning, I'm like, how come you didn't wake up? I was throwing everything at you. He's like, I was tired, babe.
Yeah. Best night's sleep ever.
Emma, do you feel better? You've said that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
That was my half of that labour story. It's all good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shouldn't have gotten stuck. We wouldn't have been in that situation.
hey, Roger, I was wondering, could you tell us about your relationship with your dad before we talk about your kids?
Okay. Well, my dad was a World War II veteran. He was pretty locked up, obviously, doing the war thing, and he's got a hard man. So he basically directed us, gave us advice, but we didn't really have a relationship with my father. Like he wasn't someone who really talked to you. So that's I was brought up sort of under dictatorship, if you like, and the way I was brought up. And but I think that was reflective of a lot of people whose parents went through the war and all that sort of stuff. They were just locked up. Their thoughts were their own. You could see him sometimes where you could see him just thinking a lot or just talking to himself, but he never really expressed himself. So I was brought up, because he was in the war, born in 1920, he was an older man, 45, 46 when I came on the scene. So he was like a granddad, but not to me, but like to other people, he seemed like, this is your grandfather. And I was going, no, it's actually my father. So I was sort of brought up in a generation behind the generation that I am in now. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's how it was for me.
What about you, Will? What was your relationship with your dad like?
Yeah, no, it was good. My dad was a bit of a legend. When he was 17, he push biked to Wellington to visit his cousins for a birthday party and biked home the following day, and that was pretty out of this world. And he slept like 4 days later. But he always told me about it. When times were tough and I was moaning, he would just go, what about that, bro? He'd be like, can you push bike to Wellington? Put that on me, and I'd be like, oh, it was a challenge, but nah, never tried, never going to. Yeah, and that was old bikes back then. But he died 7 years ago. He had a brain tumour. It was 81 when he passed away. Yeah, sorry. He was an alcoholic. So our relationship was pretty different. He sort of hurt Mum a little bit there when I was about 18, and they ended up breaking up or divorce, and then went their own ways. And so I sort of held a lot of resentment towards him because of that. So it wasn't really until I had my own kids that I started to build that relationship with him. Yeah, and it was good. It ended up being awesome. And then in his last days, I actually got to lead him to the Lord. Yeah, so he got him by the skin of his teeth. Yep. So that's it.
Thanks, Will. Doreen, can you tell us about your relationship with your dad?
Catherine told me I should say, no, forget about that. You know what, I don't have a relationship with my dad. He left when I was 8 years old, and for a few years I got letters and that from him at Christmas and birthdays and whatnot, and then but no real relationship as such. When all our kids were, I think Jamie was like 3 years old, we went and stayed with him for a week. He was living in Sydney. Oh, actually, I think we went for 2 weeks. And it was kind of awkward because it was the first time I'd seen him in 18 years. And we just decided we'd try and make a connection with my dad and that. So we went over there and spent 2 weeks with him and Jill, who was his wife, and I thought we had a good time, and it was good, and I kind of got to know him a little bit, and then we came home, and I haven't seen him or heard from him since. That was 96, and I wrote a letter to him when we got home, and send it off to him and saying thank you and whatnot, and it got returned to us that he didn't live at that address, that he wasn't there, and me and my brother spent about 3 years trying to track him down. He just vanished. So to this day, I don't know where he is. I think he's back in England and over there, but I've tried to find him, but he's gone. So one of my girls said to me one time, Dad, she said to me, Dad, how do you feel about your dad? And I said, I said to her, how do you feel about Mr. Smith? And she was like, huh? Who's Mr. Smith? I said, well, that's my point, But I'm really fortunate because Mum remarried when I was 16 or 17. And her husband, Neil, I view him as my dad now. He often says, I'm not your dad, but he is. And, and he's my dad. And I love him. He's awesome. He's a great grandpa to the kids, and which is fantastic. But yeah, that's me and my dad.
Thanks. Just before we move on to Pastor Kent and hear about Padre Thompson, I just want to really acknowledge just sharing that. I think one of the things that's really important about the variety we have in our dads panel is that everybody does have a different story out there and up here about what your relationship is like with your dad, and we need everybody in the church. Kent said it not so long ago. We need people in the church who haven't had dads, so people who haven't got dads when they come to the church, they know that God's got them and they can see that in Dorian. So just thank you for sharing that. So, Pastor Kent.
Yeah. No, my dad's, he's here today, actually.
I know.
Very
do you know what? There's lots of words for pastor, priest, father, but my favourite is padre.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's what my kids have to call me.
Is it?
Make them do it. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Dad's here. Dad actually was a padre in the Air Force as well, so it's quite cool. Hey, Dad, wherever you are out there. And we have a good relationship, and yeah, I appreciate him heaps. Like, he's a legend. Yeah.
What's the most important thing you've learnt from your dad?
To pray, and to say sorry. 100%.
Anybody else on the panel? What's the most important thing that you learnt from your own dad?
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb. It's a good one.
Although saying that, I'm sorry that I might be changing the subject.
Go for it.
Saying that, I look at my life now and I go, I'm not ungrateful that Dad left, because I wouldn't be who I am now if he'd have stayed around. And then the 2 weeks that we spent over there in Aussie spending time with him, I wouldn't want to be the man that I may have been in seeing who he was. So I'm grateful. Yeah. So while I say, don't be dumb, that's true, don't be dumb, but I'm not, be present, that's good.
Also for me, like, I worked with Dorian for like about, 9 or so years, or longer than that now, but on and off, but he's always been, his kids are a bit older than ours, and he's always been my go-to kind of how to dad example, which is cool. Yeah, the fellow who didn't have a dad is one of my kind of mentors. So you're the man.
I think that's the cool thing about being in a church with so many men in it. I know if you've visited other churches, it's unusual to find a church with so many men in it. And I think it's one of the great privileges we have here at Peak, that there are so many men and other men you can go to and be like, I'm stuck on this. Where do I go to from here? What's the best thing you learned from your dad, Will?
For me is probably to support and watch my kids' sports, because he never did. He did once, so I'll tell a funny story. I was playing soccer and I was goalie for some reason, and he was right there on my right. And the opposition was coming down and they went for a goal, and then the ball lost momentum, and then they turned around, started running back the other way. And I went down to get the ball and then actually rolled through my legs. It went over the line. And my dad looks at me like, And that was the first time he ever came to watch my sports. And then it was just so much pressure. Yeah, then I actually, I picked it up and no one's seen it except for me and him. And I booted it across and then, So I make sure I watch my kids' games and support them as much as I can. Yeah.
Nice. What about for you, Roger? What's the most important thing you learned from your dad?
I think from my dad it was, and probably it was also linked in with my mother as well, was actually don't do anything in your life that you can't keep your head up from. So, actually they're quite proud. So, look at what you're doing. Don't do anything that you feel ashamed about. Yeah, so that's what I do.
You got an answer for that one, Herb?
Yeah, how not to, Dad. Nah, just kidding. So my dad taught me how to love, I suppose. If I was to take anything, my dad was never around, so it's a bit hard to try and pull on something on what he's taught me. But he would always be there for you if you gave him a call. So how to love, he'll drop anything, everything. So all good.
I think one of the coolest things about what you're saying and what you're saying, Will, is that quite often our experiences as parents, let's go on both sides of the table here, it's not just from what we watched and saw happen, was from what we watched and saw didn't happen, and if that affected us, what we could change about that. Yeah. Here's a tricky question. Or not too tricky, because the answer came out in a sermon a few weeks ago. So we're just going to bit of a test to see how well you guys were listening. What can we do as a church? What can we do to help reach dads who don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ yet? Because they're out there. What are we doing about that? What do you think is the best way to reach other dads? Go for it, Herb.
Be an example of how to dad, basically. People will see, people will watch, and people will want to copy. And they'll one day, if you imitate Christ, then they'll want some of that as well. So just be an example, whether you're at work, whether at school, whether on the sideline watching your kids' sport. One of the greatest assets that we have in our lives is that when Tyson plays sport or the kids play sport is we get to meet some of the parents around there and build some relationship with them. Just sow little seeds of encouragement and what God is doing in our lives, and we start to reap the reward of that little seed that was sown 6 years ago. So just be an example wherever you are.
What about for you, Rog? How do you reckon you're reaching other dads?
Yeah, I agree totally with Herb. I think, the church is us, right, as males and females. And so it's about us representing and being the best we can be, because people do watch and they do see how we react in different situations. And the reality is, I think probably there's only a very few people who have perfect relationships with their parents and their father, and there's a lot of people that we deal with out in the community who have broken relationships. So yeah, it's all about trying to show a way, especially, and also other people seeing how you treat your own children. Yeah.
Yeah, dads are really observant, so being out in the workplace, like 90% of the guys are not believers and stuff like that, so I just try and represent Jesus well. And if ever it comes up, they all know I'm Christian, which is cool. I actually invited 3 guys here today that were supposed to ride, but they pulled out. No, they pulled out.
Good. Who were they, bro?
From work. Yeah, which is, a little sneaky enemy got in there, sort of had a little whisper in the ear. And but it's all good. But I just try and represent Jesus well. Yeah.
It's all about that invite. Dorian.
Yeah, I agree fully. It's the example, but it's also things like today, getting on a motorbike, going for a ride, and it doesn't have to be riding a bike. It can be all sorts of things, but having those events where you can bring people in, and when people come into the church, they often come in and they go, "Oh, that's not what I expected." They kind of have this idea that it's dog collars and robes and singing hymns and and they go, "Oh, actually, you guys are kind of normal," and it's kind of because we are, kind of, mostly, sometimes.
Pastor Kent, what do you reckon one of the top things we can do to connect with other dads?
To connect with others, I think I guess I like to challenge fellas and share principles or with them, about how they live their life in the context of their relationship with their kids or their wife. And Ed Cole said the greatest thing a man can do for his children is to love their mother, you know. And so something really simple like that is a powerful principle that can kind of like change their world, you know. And I think you know, there's a like a crisis with manhood, with fatherhood, with parenting, like that we really are blind to in society, in this world. You know, our edges are so, it's like that table used to be square. The edges are so rounded off that it's now oval, and we're not even aware of it. Like, you know, we've got to get our edge back as men and as parents to, I don't know, to love our kids, you build your family on purpose. It doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it, and yeah.
What I think is great about that is I think men are actually looking for that more than they know. They are looking for that opportunity to be that, to have that, for that manhood to be, you know, front and center, and their purpose really clear, known to them. So that's pretty cool. This question, it might sound like it's for young people, but it's actually for us people who are older young people as well. Because it doesn't change when you get older. I would love a piece of advice that you give to kids, to younger people, off your phones, just for 2 seconds, because this piece of information is for you. Okay. What advice would you give to kids on how to treat their dads? It's a good question. How would you, as dads, like to be treated? Like to be treated. Anyone.
Oh.
Go, we'll start back with you. Come this way.
I just wrote a couple of things down for that.
He's got a list, Thompson. Take notes.
Sorry, the question, that was another one that I had. Honour them in their homes. So honour is a principle of release. No matter how flawed they are, be nice to them and respect them. And the relationship will become enjoyable and deeper. Like they're just human, they're flawed, but when you honour your father, even the Bible says that honour your mum and dad, you know, your mother and father, it'll be, your life will go well, and you'll have a long life. And so I think that a little bit of honour just goes a long way.
How old were you when you realised that your dad was human? And that he made mistakes?
I'm not sure, but I had a little bit of a revelation about it. I had my own kids, and I went to stay at mum and dad's one time, and I kind of heard the way my other siblings were speaking to my dad.
Example.
Yeah. But no, it wasn't. It was just the little things, and I thought, you know what? I don't need to say that. I don't need to do that. And no disrespect to my family; they're awesome. Love you guys. But I just thought, you know what? I can do better. I can do better than that. We can honour Dad in his home. If he likes to listen to the radio on that station, that's fine. If he wants the TV up loud, that's fine. Make him a cup of tea. That's what.
So you think it took till you had kids to realise that?
Yeah, a little bit. Slowly.
A little bit. Slower. Yeah. What about you, Joan? How would you like your kids to treat you? What's one of the things that's important?
Kiss the ring. Kiss the ring.
It's kind of funny because you sent that question through to me.
Yeah, it's an odd question.
I've struggled with that, and I'm not really sure why, but I think at the end of the day, respect is like what Kent is saying. Is I've seen the way children and teenagers speak to their parents often, and they just treat them like they're idiots. And it's like, actually, you got to remember that idiot that's your mum and dad actually brought you into this world, and they have raised you up and done everything for you to where you are right in life. And maybe they haven't done everything right, and we don't, like Kent was saying, we don't do everything right. But actually, to respect your parents for who they are is actually something that's really important. Something that I used to say to our kids, and Catherine did it at times, and I did the same, is just talk to them and go, sorry, it's more about leading by example. the way I treat Catherine is hugely important, that they see that I am loving my wife, and if I see them dishonouring her in any way, then I would pull them up straight away. So don't you dare talk to your mum like that. That is not acceptable. And she would do the same back the other way. And and that happened very rarely. It was, you only have to deal with things a few times when they're young, and if you are leading and showing by your example how to treat each other, how to treat them, then they will pick that up and they know what's right and what's wrong. So I don't know, I kind of struggle with the question because
it's a tricky question because it's weird to think, because I'm not asking what are you demanding or requiring from your children. I was just wondering how you would like to be treated. What things it might already be happening. Well, what about in your household? If you were to say to your kids, what's one thing you would really like? Or to the young people here to say, go home and do this for your parents. What would you like? What do you think would be a great thing for them to try and do?
Yeah, respect goes a long way. Just engagement, phones and iPads and all that sort of rubbish at the moment. You lose time with your kids with that stuff.
True
So
that.
just engagement, like conversations, and for them to get to know their dad on a personal level. Like, we're cool. Dad's awesome. We're full of knowledge. We know heaps. And our kids don't think we do. They think we're dumb as, wherever they are. Yeah, but me and Tiff, we used to put the kids first in our marriage, which is a bit of a no-no. So, and I don't know, 5 years ago now, we started putting ourselves first, and the kids started seeing that, and then having arguments, and actually getting over the argument in front of them. That was good. It was good for them to see. They just look at us and go, "You guys were just fighting half an hour ago. Now you're fine. You're laughing." So all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But
It's good. It's good for your kids to see that you're real people who make mistakes and know how to repair that things aren't over just because, there's misunderstandings. Rog, how would you like the boys to treat you?
They're pretty good though, but I think it's about honouring. I truly think it's about honouring and about respecting and not being dismissive. I think that's the worst thing you can do to a father, if you dismiss him in the sense of, like, I'm not interested in what you say, man.
That's
because
cancelling.
You cancel us out, then of course, the old anger comes out. But I think males are easily offended, right? We have to be honoured. And if we're honoured and we feel that we have a place, then that has a real influence on all the people around us, including our children. So worst thing you can have is a child growing up dismissing what you have to say as being relevant. So my kids are okay. So, there's been times where I've had to reshape them, but
Mold, potter, clay.
That's a father's role. So.
What about
Can we
you?
can we grab a definition on reshape?
I'm old school, mate.
Yeah. What about you, Herb?
Me. Hey, cool. I've got them up here. There's only a couple of things that I'd like for advice that I give to my children. There's a bit of patience. I stuff up heaps. We know that. You guys know my jokes sometimes go across the line, and sometimes we're so far past the line, there is no line. So that's one of my things, but just a bit of patience and forgiveness when I am like that. And the other thing would be just pure honesty. I hate sitting my kids crying, and then I have to sit them down and I have to dig out of the conversation what's going on. I'm like, just say, "Dad, you're ugly," or something. You know what I mean? Just say it, just spit it out. I had to have a talk with Tyson this morning because he started crying as I was leaving for here. And I'm like, "Bro, I'm gonna punch you in the eye if you're not honest with me, all right?" And then I'll ask for the patience. But yeah, just patience and honesty. If my kids are ever going through anything, I want to be a part of that and I want to be there for them. But I'm not going to know how to unless you're honest.
He's got other children to look at.
Yeah, but that one's got a target on her back.
That was pretty clear, bro.
what I take out of that question is actually what I want to give to not just the young people in the room. As an adult, I want to be challenged by what you've just said. I want to have more patience for my own dad. I want to forgive my own dad a bit more. And that's what I was asking about. The question is, when did you realize that your dad was human? I think as adults, we think all of a sudden we become an adult and our relationship with our dad can change. But your dads here, for those of us who are older and our dads are around, your dads still need the same things. Your dads still need to be honoured, like Kent was talking about in his own dad's house. Okay, you know, dads still want to be engaged with you. How often do I ring up my parents' household and my dad answers the phone and I'm like, hey, how's it going, Dad? Yeah, good. Is Mum there? And I bypass my dad and the conversation with him to get to my mum so I can get on with the details of my conversation. I forget, shake your head at me. I forget to engage with my dad sometimes. I know my dad wants to be a part of my life as an adult still. And I can bypass that, or I can be at their house, you know, for a cup of tea in the afternoon and do exactly that. I can look around the room and see every one of my siblings on their phones and think, oh, this is actually my time to be here with my dad and engage with him and not miss the moment. So it was a trick question. It wasn't for the young people. It was for us as adults in there. As I see our time kind of rolling around, I would love to know real quick your answers to our last question, okay? What are you doing to prepare your kids? And I want to hear from you first, Roger, because you have got older kids and older young men than the rest of us. What are you doing to prepare your kids for the current world, for the world they're growing up into, which is different to the world we grew up in?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a struggle. I think it comes back to time. I spend a lot of time talking to them. And we engage in discussions about what we're seeing and hearing and what's changing in our community and what we might see on the news and all that sort of stuff. So it's about discussing that and how that, and also our own principles of our life, our own standards, are quite important. And, we get into issues around what the Bible's moral standards are and what the world's now looking like and what that means for us to go forward. So a lot of... my boys got to the age now where you can get into deep conversations about things, about that type of, you can take it down a level, which you probably can't do with a 6-year-old, but when I've got a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old, we can go down there. Yeah, so we can have some real concerns. It's about growing them as well for the future.
So how have you incorporated the Bible into your fathering? And that's a bigger question. It wasn't on the list.
How I incorporated, well, in my conversations. Well, the one advantage that I've had, right, I wasn't going to church until I was 32. I'd left the church a long time ago during life. So when I came back into the church, and I brought my kids through the church from day one. So they had a lot of support from a lot of good people that are here about growing and understanding, the moral standards in the Bible and Christian values. And then we, as a team, Joan and I, were able to just keep embrace that and have it alive in front of us as part of a conversation that we have with our kids all the time. So they've had the benefit of the community of the church bringing them up. So that's been part of it.
We'll jump to you, Dorian, last on this question, because you've got older kids, and the reason I want to jump to you and Roger is that you've got fruit. I mean, the rest of us are still working on our kids. They're teenagers, they're young people. You guys have young adults that have turned out, okay. So, I want to hear from you. I'm always desperately looking towards parents who have older children than mine. What have you done to prepare your kids for the world they're growing up in? And that second kind of part to the question, Dorian, is how did you incorporate the Bible into your fathering?
Good question.
I think the thing comes back to, like I said before, is leading by example, is just going, you need to live your life. We needed to. We were very... can't think of what the word is now, but we knew that we had to make decisions. Intentional, that's what it was. Very intentional about making sure that that we were living our life in a fashion that we wanted to see our kids, our children, growing up and becoming. So you have to live what you want them to be. And there's that verse, I think, was it Paul, who said, follow me as I follow Christ. And imitate me, imitate my life. And that's how we did it with our kids. We just said, you can be who I am, because I know that who I am is who I want you to be. And how did we incorporate like the Bible? And it was just everyday life. It wasn't like that. We didn't have our church life and our rest of the week life, and we didn't have our Christian life and then our other life. It was just sometimes we would sit down and we would have we'd have family devotion together. But I tell you what, it wasn't very common. It was something that we did because it was just hard to do that, But we always sat down to have dinner, and we say grace. Thank you, Lord, for the food. Thank you for the day, whatever, And when issues arose, the kids had problems, then we would sit down and we'd pray for them. We'd pray with them. Every night they go to bed and you just sit down beside of the bed and you pray with your kids before they go to sleep at night. We incorporated living our faith out on a daily basis, and that's just, and I believe, as you should.
That's good.
So example, I guess, is the answer.
That's good. Anybody else want to throw their hat in the ring for that one, or we good?
Yeah, I wrote a
you
couple
got
things
you got
down
some
just
notes,
to finish off. I think that Rog touched on this, is like calling out the untruth, because there's so many sort of narratives and TV programs that are basically about infidelity and sleeping around and divorcing people and having affairs, and that just keeps pouring through the TV. And I like to sit there and go, okay, well, that looks very glamorous right now. Kids, doesn't that? But what does that really look like? This is what it looks like. And I just start going down the list of how your life will be destroyed from the stupid decision that you just made right now. And the kid's like, oh, Dad, you don't need to get like that. I'm like, no, I do. I do need to get like that, because this is the truth of what will happen in your life. So it's like there's these untruths that we are fed, and they're actually called lies. And they'll actually ruin your life. And you keep consistently receiving that untruth. It becomes truth to you, and you just start to believe it. And all of a sudden, you're all messed up. Like, God made you a boy when you were born, because you've got a, so look down your pants and see that God made you male, a man, a young kid, and you are good. And girls, He made you a girl, and you are good. Because there's a narrative coming through that you can be whatever you want to be, but it's just going to screw you up and mess you up and cause you to have problems. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. That's the conversation that I have with my kids. And as Rog said, you can as they get older, you just become more explicit and more pointed in what is truth and what is not. And decide how you want to live your life and what you want to live it by. Give them the why. This is why Jesus, the Bible says, be married to one wife. This is why. Because if you be married to more than one wife, you will be poor. Give them, you will break the hearts of your children. Doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter how they cover it up. You'll break their hearts. Reaffirming who they are. Pointing them back to Jesus, getting them involved in youth group. How many people have kids here that don't bring them and make them go to youth group? Just make them go. This is what we do. We go to church and we go to youth group. Yes, this is what we do.
And don't be tempted to say you can't go to youth group as a punishment.
Yeah.
That's not going to youth group is never a punishment.
Is not going to youth group.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go to and then you complain because my kids are off doing this, but you could have brought them to youth group. Start sowing them in now, getting them involved. I hate going to youth group. Oh, too bad. That's what we do. Let's go. Come on. One day you'll enjoy it. And actually be intentional about getting your kids into an environment that's going to actually speak some biblical truth into their lives. Because they ain't listening to you as a parent sometimes, right? You know that. Like, yeah.
That's
me.
good. I love what you were saying about discernment. One of my favourite lines at the moment is discernment is not telling the difference between what is the truth and what are lies. It's between the truth and what's nearly the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the world portrays, that
Yeah.
this nearly looks like it's true.
Yeah.
This nearly looks like I can feel however I want to feel. Discernment for our kids, it's easy to tell between what's true and not true, but it's harder to tell but what's true and what's nearly true.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big discernment that we've really got to teach our young people these days. And it's getting harder and harder as dads.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to really thank you guys for, for your vulnerability today.
No problem.
You don't need to stand. I know that it is not easy for anyone, men particularly, to open up about a part of our worlds that sometimes we cannot feel 100% great about. You all, said kind of, I'm not sure I'm doing it quite right, or I need patience, or I need forgiveness. And to sit up here and share that sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's really hard, I think that's exactly what our audience and our church need to hear, that, together we've got this. With God, we've got this. So a big round of applause for our gents on stage. Oh, Kent has given me some really great sandwich. This means, don't forget, there is sandwiches, steak sandwiches. What are we serving up today? Tell us.
Steak sandwiches are on the menu with a little bit of relish and a ginger beer for the dads.
Yeah, so if you are a dad today, please stay, please head on outside. The barbecue is cranked up, it is hot. Your steak sandwiches, your ginger beers are waiting for you. Wives, children, just sit to the side, wait, be patient like Herb asked for.
Bikes too.
Have a look at the motorbikes. Thanks all for coming, great to have you here.
Well done, gentlemen. Good, yeah, thank you. Yes.